Oh, Bob Alexander? I'm gonna sign here. Marla Benjamin is absent. Michael Bennett.
Here.
Joyce Lassiter. Here. America.
Here.
Bob Marks.
Here.
Molly is no longer on the board. Antonio Paisano.
I think he's on his way.
Okay. Marcia Ryden, present. Leah O'Neill.
Here.
Lori. Here. Okay. Jessica Vasquez. John White. Virginia Rivera.
Here.
I believe we have. I believe we have.
A quorum is present, okay?
Lori, you want to do?
Put your right hand over your heart and I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, America, student report.
Hello, everyone. So tomorrow we will be having Club Rush at the quad. We have everything set up for tomorrow. Some clubs did request that AC make them posters, and we did. So yeah, we're excited for tomorrow. As for homecoming royalty, we have a new system for that, and we will be having 3 winners now instead of 2, and that will be homecoming king, queen, and royalty. The reason for this is that in the past, when we had royalty, only primarily girls would win. So we want to open and level the playing field for non-binary students as well as men. So for the Hoco Spirit Week, it's called Five Nights at Birmingham, and Monday is Jeepers Creepers Day. So it's going to be Wear Your Shades Day, and then Tuesday is Twisted Tuesday. And we're gonna have the staff also join in with us on this Spirit Day. So it will be staff dresses up as students and students dressed up as staff. And then Wednesday is gonna be a nightmare on Main Street, and it's just gonna be wear your pajamas. And then Thursday is going to be anything but a ghost pack, which is essentially bring anything but a backpack day, because we did this 2 years ago and it was a huge success. So we wanna bring it back. And then Friday is just gonna be classic class colors, which is freshmen wear black, sophomores wear yellow, juniors wear blue, and seniors wear black. Seniors wear white, I'm sorry. So for the football game, our theme is the Grand Night, and we were kind of going for the luxury feel to give the students feel like they're almost royalty all themselves. And the theme for that is just going to be class colors since it matches with the Fridays. And then the homecoming dance is going to be Midnight Mansion, which is essentially the same thing as the homecoming football game. It's going to be like Great Gatsby, Roaring Twenties, very elegant. So yeah, that's all for the student report today. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, oral communication. Do you have any energy except for the football team? All right, football team, it's your chance.
Hey.
Come on down. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Don't be afraid of mine.
And what position?
Slides out. Slides out.
Hi, I'm Casey Tisdale. I'm the quarterback.
Right.
My name is Peyton Waters, and I'm an athlete.
My name is Mariano Carlos, and I'm the senior linebacker here.
I think Texas was a great opportunity for all of our guys to get out and try something new. Never been done in the Valley, and especially at Birmingham. So I thought it was a great opportunity for everyone from the plane and getting to see 2 universities, getting to see what it's like on the college life. I thought that was a great chance, and thing to do for our team.
We just wanted to say thank you for you guys letting this happen, this trip, and we felt like we had a good experience there, playing against a good team over there. It gave our team a good experience when we play league now in these few weeks, so we're prepared as well. And yeah, we had a good team, we had a good time at the hotel, having fun with our teammates, everything like that, and it was all good.
One thing I enjoyed was the food. It's some really good barbecue, brisket, ribs, sides. One thing that wasn't too good about it was probably the weather. It was real humid out there, but you know, it took some getting used to, and it's a different environment, which you know, it was good to experience for some people that have only been or lived in California or Midwest, where it's not too humid. And those are some of the things that we liked.
Where did you go?
San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And the Alamo?
Yes, visit that alone as well.
To a river walk?
Yeah, went down the river. It was really nice.
And you're gonna write a paper on no. All right, well, congratulations, guys.
Congratulations.
All right, UTLA.
Good evening, board members. Nice fine, lovely Tuesday here. Tuesdays here at Birmingham campus are the best days of the week. Did I mention that Tuesdays are the best days, especially the evening time, better than Saturdays? Just saying. Welcome. Full contract negotiations, as you know, I've mentioned this in the past, upcoming in discussions with Sorry Bennett and myself, and what is becoming our bargaining team. We're shooting for October to sunshine present that to the board, so that would be your next board meeting on Saturday. Right now, starting tomorrow, we have 4 candidates looking to fill in the 2 open positions that we have on the bargaining team. We're running an election for those open positions that will close on Friday. And then what we do is we take larger groups, smaller groups, certain parties of interest, maybe departments, maybe something more specific, maybe sports, maybe special ed, maybe a grade level, and try to diagnose really what our direction is going to be moving forward. All of that takes time, but we're cognizant of that. I've got a nice note here for myself. Tuesday board meetings, Tuesdays. You do realize that Saturday is an abnormal time for a school board council meeting to be taking place. Tuesday, we have a better chance of getting people passing through. It fits a little bit easier. If these things fit easy into somebody's day, at least somebody like myself is working full time to at least have a weekend. Just a few concerns here. This is the first time we can remember that a few members reached out to me on a concern about our progress reports weren't mailed home. There's a different process that's taking place in notifying parents and whatnot, handing grades out in our academy meetings, but the parents haven't been notified by mail. We do have a new ordering system. It's called BEST. It's for putting in orders for items that one might need. Many people are finding it a little cumbersome and slow, and orders taking a while to get processed. And there are some activities and events that happen on campus where spending almost has to be reactive. For example, you're putting an event on and you didn't realize you need an extra tarp, but you can't wait a month to order that tarp. It's tomorrow. School-wide scheduling and placement of auxiliaries. We have a lot of school-wide auxiliaries, which means that it's not a single subject. It's anyone on school is eligible for this. And our default position, UTLA's default position here is seniority. And then you need to look at how it fits in the matrix and who has conference periods, but not cherry picking certain people for programs that one might want to promote more than others. This leads into some other concerns that really been popping up recently is the administrative oversight here is very inconsistent. And I think a perfect example of this would be evaluations. Evaluation from one administrator to another administrator is completely different. It doesn't mean that changing the evaluation tool is going to change that. Like we need to look at what works and what doesn't work in our current evaluation tool before we can change anything. Change for the sake of change may not pan out very well here, especially when it comes to people's livelihoods. We're also seeing that out of classroom people, certificated, classified, administrative, are treated differently. And there's definitely no consistency there. As a result of this, like almost anything that I present here is organic. It comes from my membership. It isn't some political system that Matt DeFranzo has that he wants to promote. Many of the things that my membership wants to promote, I don't necessarily fully agree with, but that's not my choice. My choice here is to represent a group of people. And out of this has come the idea that we should have a petition for equity. And we've got that started. I was going to present it to you today, but I want nearly everyone's signature on this document to show that we really care and we want to see that practices across the board at Birmingham are done equitably. There's no favoritism, there's no boys club, none of that. We've got to get rid of it. The difficulty I have is I do not like to survey classes, so that means I don't do it during class time. I've got to do it during passing periods, lunch, before or after school. And like I said, nearly everything you hear came from somewhere else. This is not me. I'm not a political machine. Just a teacher here at Birmingham, and I have been for 15 years. And I plan on many, many more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you report. Chris, no report? Okay, on the agenda, before we go into informational items, we look at the agenda item. M8 is being withdrawn. Okay,
And which?
M8. There, I got it right. Yeah. Okay, Cindy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday. I will make this brief. This is about our alternative supports contract, and I'm just going to give you a summary. It's in your Dropbox, and up there, the mission is basically to provide high-quality research-based support in the classroom. That would be, let me just go through the tiers first. So tier 1 is school-wide tutoring, and that's going to take place in the Blue and Gold Center in the mornings, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 7:20 to 8:20. And that's in the mornings. And then on Wednesday mornings, since we have a different bell schedule that day, tutoring will take place from 8:30 to 9:30 in the Blue and Gold Center. In the afternoons, we'll have tutoring on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 3:30 to 4:30. Traditionally, as long as we've been having tutoring, students don't come on Fridays. So we don't hold tutoring on Fridays. We have higher tutors with strong content area qualifications in ELA, social studies, math, and science. And often we also get a good Spanish tutor too. And that's who we provide in the Blue and Gold Center. Tier 2's tutoring is open to all BCCHS teachers who want to provide tutoring sessions centered around reteaching materials, allowing students to work together on projects, retake quizzes or assignments, complete makeup work, or receive additional help. This type of tutoring must take place on site in a classroom and obviously under the supervision of a teacher. So this can take place after school or before school, or a lot of AP teachers have students come in on a Saturday sometimes for kind of an extended AP prep session closer to, those usually happen in the spring. Now, the tutoring that we fund the most, that we tend to get the highest interest in is Tier 3 tutoring, which is in-class tutoring. And our provider will provide us with high-quality academic support in the form of high-quality tutors who are experienced content area experts. And these are hired from the outside by the provider, and they, again, we don't hire just any old tutor. If it's a math tutor, it needs to be a math tutor. Usually, a lot of times they're math majors, or they were math majors. Usually, like some from CSUN, some from UCLA. It's not like we're hiring somebody that just finished high school. These are college graduates, maybe getting a master's in math, or maybe some of them working to get their teaching credential. These tutors are placed in classrooms as determined by need based on teacher request and administrative review. These Tier 3 tutors support students in meeting the learning targets and standards as designated by the teacher of record for that class. So some alternative support benefits are, we've done a lot of qualitative research, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. For the past couple of years, 88% of the students have responded to a tutor effectiveness survey, that they had received help from an in-class tutor. 90% of those students agreed that their in-class tutor understood the math being taught and that the tutor could explain it to them. 60% of the students stated their grade had improved in math because of the help that they had received from their in-class math tutor. And 88% of the teachers who had an in-class math tutor stated that their tutor had strong content area knowledge and had capably assisted students. 87.5% of teachers who had an in-class tutor stated that their in-class tutor had increased student achievement. Quantitative research has been a little bit difficult to conduct because in-class tutors are only placed in classes that have students with large gaps of instruction. Maybe there are a lot of students with disabilities or English learners or other needs, gaps in instruction. And some of those classes are block classes and some of them aren't. So it's difficult to find the parity that would be needed for a true data comparison between classes with in-class tutors and classes without in-class tutors. So we usually begin the year with an open PO, and this year our open PO that we're requesting is $180,000. The district, that means us, BCCHS, pays a provider $51 per hour for non-district tutors, and we allocate most of our funding to Tier 3 in-class tutoring, as that's where we have the greatest need. Teachers are paid $35 an hour for tutoring that they do after school or on weekends. But by far the biggest bulk of the money goes to the Tier 3 in-class tutors. And that is what we pay the provider, not what the actual tutor gets paid. We pay Tree of Knowledge staff. So are there any questions?
Yeah, are these students, so they take child abuse and fingerprint?
Oh, yes, yeah, it's all vetted through, yeah, you can speak.
Yeah, any vendor that's gonna be approved, is gonna have, all their employees are gonna go through live scan, TV, all those requirements. That's a condition of us accepting them as a vendor. So that would happen before anybody does any work for us.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Doris?
Ms. Henny, in the beginning, under
Use your
the,
mic, Doris.
I don't know.
Can't hear you.
Supervision.
In the beginning, under the mission,
Mhm.
you said, to help eligible students. What's eligibility look like?
This is paid for by Title I funds, and every student in the school is eligible under Title I
And
funding.
who determines the teacher that they need the help?
Yeah, generally, in the past, it's been almost not, 80 to 90% math and some science. But
I
yes,
understand the content area, who makes the decision? The teacher says, Miss Cindy, I need help for student ABC.
no, it's for the whole class.
Got it.
The whole class gets it, and yes, the teacher does put in a request. Okay.
John?
If it's paid by Title I, why is there such disparity between what the outside people receive for their services as opposed to what the teachers receive for their services? Doesn't the teacher get their typically rates? $35 is
The tutor doesn't get $51 an hour. That's what the company gets. We also have to pay the company $50 an hour remember, the company has to make a profit.
they don't have to make a profit.
They do, or they won't
Their
work
business
for us.
make a profit. I remember,
Yeah.
maybe I'm getting old and senile, but when we had the teachers do the tutoring from the Title I, they received their tenth of the salary, not the PD rate. So that's my only question. If you guys have worked it out, the teachers are closer to the students, and they should be more aware of the students' needs rather than
Well,
someone from the
this is
outside.
in-class tutoring. The teacher is there. So this is during the school day. The teacher's already getting their hourly rate. This is inside the classroom. Okay, and then the morning and afternoon tutoring is before and after school.
So gives the teacher a different rate if they work that?
No, the teacher could work it if they wanted. None of them ever apply to do it. So this is concentrated in the Blue and Gold Center. So the teacher would have to go to the Blue and Gold Center.
But the rate for that work would be more than the $35.
No, we don't, the way we do our tutoring is through this outside agency, because, in the past, you have to have a certain number of students in order for, like, we're not gonna pay an hourly rate for 2 students.
Right, I understand.
So when we have it in a centralized location, we get enough students to make it worthwhile to pay $51 an hour. And most teachers' hourly rate is not $51 an hour.
Is the only evaluation you have is the survey of the students? There's not something that goes around the clipboard or something? The only evaluation is.
The teachers do a survey too.
Any other questions? Yeah. Antonio?
Piggybacking off of this last question, is the teacher who determines if the tutor is here? Okay, individual question.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the back end of your question.
Can a student also request tutoring? Like, do they have access?
A student has access to tutoring every morning and every afternoon except Friday. All they have to do is show up at the Blue and Gold Center.
As part of this program?
Yes, but they can't request, I want a tutor in my 3rd period, an adult tutor. That is only the teacher that can request that. But if a student needs individual tutoring, all they have to do is show up at the Blue and Gold Center in the morning or the afternoon.
So the PO for $180,000 that you made reference to at the beginning, that's the quote-unquote budget we allocate to this, and we already provide those services. In other words, the teacher doesn't have to request that particular type of service. It's available
No,
to
that's
the program.
included in this. That's the daily tutoring that's for, in the 4 core content areas is included in this 180,000 open PO.
And does that mean we're under contract with these folks for $180,000?
No, the contract just says that whatever they provide, these are the rates that we pay them.
But it must be.
We're just estimating that.
Yeah.
What it would be.
Based on past years. And by far, the largest amount is the in-class tutoring.
Was probably the highest impact, right?
Yes, yes.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not a question, but just to speak to kind of some of the stuff about that. Like, I often request an in-class tutor. Teach, until this year, I was teaching geometry every other day. And so I would have, mid-30s of students in the classroom. And a lot of students come in with gaps of knowledge. And so having that additional support was really vital for my students to be able to be successful. Also, I don't do morning tutoring. Not a morning tutor. The kids definitely want me to have my coffee before I start teaching them. And so, it was very beneficial for me to be able to refer students to the morning tutoring who are athletes, because I can only offer to help them after school, not before. And the athletes are often occupied during that time. So, I still like John's thing about my hourly, but, so, because I do remember that back in the day. But it's just it is very beneficial, especially for the math classes that are every other day. We don't get to see them every day. We don't have as much time with them. And having that second person in the room who is knowledgeable is really important. And I know the school ended up hiring one of the tutors that I had, and he works as a para now, I think, for a professional.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No doubt that there's high impact there. Where I was getting at with the first part of my question was, I would hate for, say, 2 or 3 students in the classroom to not be able to have access to tutoring, because a teacher potentially can determine, well, it's only 3 out of 30, so that's not enough to get somebody in. So it's nice to know that there's somewhere else they can go to.
Right,
Still
and-
get that tutor. That's where I was going at.
And when the tutor, excuse me for interrupting you, when the tutor is placed in a classroom, they're supposed to help all the students. They're supposed to, they're under the direct supervision of the teacher. They're not there for 3 kids.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, Lionel.
What happened to Isaac? Isaac and Rob?
You skip something. You skip 2. Wait.
Did I?
Isaac.
Investigator, student residence policy? Oh, I'm sorry, Isaac. You all look alike, I'm sorry.
So, in your Dropbox, you have a new policy titled just. The reason why we need this policy is because, as you know, Birmingham is now a popular school, and we have a lot of students wanting to come to Birmingham, and we have a huge wait list. It's a great problem to have, but with that is also issues with parents falsifying addresses. And so we have a lot of that going on now. So we're at the point where we need to establish a policy of what to do when that happens and how we address it when we know it's happening. And so this defines what a resident student is. It also defines what we accept as proof of residency. And it also clarifies the special circumstances for students that are labeled or identified homeless, foster care, and then it gives us the process that we follow for investigating situations when we know that a parent may be providing us a false address. Any questions?
What is it? The student's parent or legal guardian has established residence within Birmingham's former boundaries. Is that a mistake?
It's not a mistake, because as a charter school, technically, we are to accept any student that resides in the state of California. However, there's a special provision for schools that have converted, and so when we identify students that are considered resident students, that's what we say. We say the students that are considered residents based on the definition of LAUSD. And it's from a previous, that's why you read it as the previous boundary.
Thank you.
So he would want to serve the laws before.
Correct.
Right.
So we need to serve all the students that are considered our resident students and then lottery students.
This has changed because the school has become more popular.
Right,
A
and
lot
we,
of people coming back.
correct, a lot of people coming back to Birmingham using false addresses to enroll on our campus. and we want everybody to follow the process. Mr. Dennis always telling me, accept more kids, we need more kids. I'm like, no, we can't have more school.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thank you.
Mr. Marks, you're up.
Good afternoon. Very quickly, I thought at this meeting we would have our parent rep on the board go through the approval, but we had some communication issues in September at the parent meetings. So they'll most likely be approved, and at the October meeting, he'll be seated. If you recall, that was gentleman that was here last month, Michael Williams. On the classified side, I think we have a candidate, but Angie Diaz will need to confirm and then hold an election with classified personnel. Hopefully, if all goes well, we'll also have a classified rep at our October meeting to be seated. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, now Lionel, now you get your chance.
All right, afternoon. This is girls basketball. They're looking to go to Orlando, Florida during Christmas break for a basketball tournament out there. They will fundraise about $18,000 to help the cost with the school. But instead of taking a local trip, they're going to take that trip. They're trying to do that trip where they're going to cover a little bit over half the cost. So they're looking to go. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have the dates in front of you.
Yeah, 26 to 30.
Correct. So it'll be during Christmas break. No school will be missed. And that'll be for girls basketball.
Can you speak to why they want to go to that tournament?
They want to go there just to get a different experience, because out here they want to see better competition. They want to get a different experience. It's a lot of it has to do with just exposing the kids to a different atmosphere, a different part of the world, different outside the valley. They're gonna, just like the football team, they're gonna explore some colleges out there and just to be seen and get stuff out there for the kids' knowledge. I can speak on like the Texas State game, Texas State, when the kids were there. That was one for football. That was one experience. But when they walked onto the University of Texas, it was a completely different feel for them, and they were just in shock. When we pulled in, they're playing into the stadium that says 100,000 people right on campus. And they see Austin. Austin was a little tiny town. So walking into that was a great experience for the kids. So once again, a lot of the coaches and a lot of the athletic department coaches, they're seeing the benefits and how to expose the kids to different elements of the country.
Just to expound on that, I mean, I spoke with the coach, and he mentioned that the team is good, and there are a lot of athletes that have the chance to get scholarships, but not at Division I schools, at Division II schools, and so that's a good tournament to go to get recruited by those schools. So that was one of the objectives that was shared with me.
Other questions? Okay, thank you, Lionel.
Thank you.
Okay, committee reports. We have 2 reports. Facilities and operations.
Richard Fonzo reporting for facilities and operations. I'd like to have my next golf meeting. Excuse me. We're all traveling. Cafeteria right next door. We have been speaking for quite a while, a few years about refreshing the faculty dining room, which is adjacent, which is used by more than just faculty. There's a rough draft of a plan out there, and it went on hold over our break, and it's time to go back to that. It did come up in the last HR meeting, so I think they're moving forward on that. Another issue that's been floating around for quite a while is the AC in the kitchen. Right now, there's a temporary portable AC units in there. And upcoming in the next few weeks, the electrical lines to support temporary portable AC units will be put in place. A small field trip was taken over to Mulholland to look at the units that they have there and how they cool their cafeteria. Apparently, LAUSD's bought up all those units, so we're looking for similar comparable type of units. When it comes to technology here at school, our new voice over IP phones have been delivered to all the classrooms and signed into. The brown phones will still remain. The new bungalows that we have out at the west end of the campus, so the 400s, wiring for Wi-Fi is going in soon, as well as our Birmingham Virtual Academy bungalows, which are across from the main building. Each classroom requires 6 drop lines and 2 units in the ceiling, and an underground cable. There's a lot that goes into this industry that's in the air. Vic has created a new security dashboard, which he presented to us at our committee meeting today, that tracks incident reports, who's phishing into our email, who's sending out malicious or malware. And thus far, we've had 0 takeovers of any accounts. Security here on campus, Birmingham is a safe place to be. But right now, the team is looking at a grant called Safe for Community Schools, where the funding would help to refurbish many of the cameras that we have around the campus here, as well as refurbishing the gate, the security gate on Haynes, and possibly a new security gate out here on Victory. We do have the vape alarms throughout campus in the student bathrooms. They've been pretty active recently. It's a boys' bathroom across from me. But here's the thing, more than just smoking devices have been caught, some taggers have been caught up in these, when the alarms go off. So basically, when the alarm goes off, security does best to get there as fast as they can. They usher out the people from the restroom facility, do a search of them. Then they also go back, they look at the cameras to see who's also in the restroom and whatnot. But they've also found some other items. There unfortunately has been some increase in hostility around the campus, not necessarily on the campus. And one example of this would be the McDonald's that's across the street. There have been a number of student fights. Only 1 or 2 of our students have been actually able to have participated in any of those fights, but it's going on. Home football games are going cashless, but a safer environment, I guess, using GoFan and their credit cards. For our homecoming game, it will be cashless, but for you students out there, you can buy tickets in the student store and you can use cash there if you need to, up through lunchtime on the Friday of that. Capital projects, we've got a lot of work always seems to be going on here at Birmingham. The new bungalows out on the west end of the campus, the 400s, are about to go through a tap test, which has to do with airflow. They're going to use MERV at 8 filters, and they're also going to replace them with the MERV 13 filters and make sure the airflow was properly in those rooms for the air conditioning. As well as tapping into the E-building for electricity. Right now, the buildings out there are running on a temporary generator. So having a power source from the school mitigates some costs. New electrical vaults have been ordered. The electricity here is, we've hit our capacity when it comes to electricity, and managing how the usage and the distribution of it and adding new buildings just adds a bigger burden, and we needed to increase the size of our electrical vaults, which is divert all the electricity out to the places that they need. well, one place that we're looking at is actually out here in the Victory parking lot, near the maintenance area. As an access point for that. The football, the infield, the field is full of material to mitigate injuries and people hurting themselves and whatnot. It's been filled. It was ready for the first game. This time we're going to continue to keep breaking it and maintaining it in the proper fashion. Another aspect of the electrical that I didn't mention was there's a new marquee that was sponsored by ASB in the quad. And our food kiosks that are around the school also need the support of the new electrical school. And the track, January 3rd, it looks like they're going to begin work on the track. You may be thinking to yourself, oh, wow, that might be coinciding with track season. And it does a little bit. Right now we're looking at Pierce College for an alternative for track practices. And one of the bigger issues, other than the air conditioning going on here in Birmingham, has always been the roofs. LUC has sent some mystery people out here. I've seen them walking around the roofs doing some inspection. We're not exactly sure what they're doing, but but they're out there. The Blue and Gold Center over this weekend, or actually yesterday, I guess, there was an issue there that possibly needed to be abated, but tests were done, and Blue and Gold Center is open and functioning just as it was when we left on Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rose?
No comments on
No.
today? Thank you.
Nothing. Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Bennett.
Okay, thank you. So first, an update on attendance. There are a couple documents in there that have attendance. One is the classification report, attendance classification, which shows that we're at 96.1% compared to 95.7 last year. You know, it's improvement. There's a lot of work that's being done now. We hope the biggest thing for us is to keep that rate where it is. Last year we started to fall off a lot in November, December, and then it stayed low the rest of the year. You know, COVID is part of that, but there's also a different culture now of sort of the compulsory attendance. We talked about this at admin meeting today, and I know Mr. Klimico is doing a lot of work with our PSA to Graciela to try and change that. We're working on some documents that we're going to send out to parents, documents that will be shared in meetings with parents. I'm reminding them of ed code and compulsory nature, and really changing that, helping to recalibrate that culture of you need to be in school. It's required. And so the other piece of attendance that I wanted to share with you is we also look at the percentage of students that attend less than 90% of the time. And so last year we were at 12% at this point. This year we are at 10.1. And so we've improved in that lowest tier as well. So that's an update. I'll be doing updates on attendance every month because that's such a critical area for us. Obviously, we lose about $1.5 million by being 12 percentage points lower than we were before COVID. And so it's a point of emphasis for us, just like enrollment is where we're at. That's a shout out for IC. Enrollment is important too for the money to fund our programs and our staff. Yes.
What do we assume for budget reviews?
Good point. So 96.1 gives us a head start. For budget is 94. So I think that's the goal. I mean, there's people are catching COVID still, and so that's still an issue. But I'm pretty confident that with all the work that's being done, that the messaging that's being done, will end up with a higher rate than last year, and hopefully higher than 94.
How are the tardies?
Tardies are still a work in progress. I think last year one of the sort of pieces of feedback that we got and the criticisms that we got was there was such an emphasis on tardies, kids were getting punished for the tardies, so when they're gonna be late, they just end up not coming to school. And so, is that true?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think we're trying to address them holistically at the same time with attendance. A lot of the kids, you know, and this, again, this is not a Birmingham problem. This is a national problem. It's clear in LAUSD, the state of California. Their truancy is higher than it was before COVID. And that includes becoming late or not coming at all.
Is there any correlation between starting school a half hour later this year than last year when it was 8 o'clock?
It wasn't at 8 o'clock for us. We started at 8:30 before.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and so I don't. I think I want to say HDLA starts at 8:45. I think Magnolia starts at 8:30. Maybe 9 o'clock. I'm not sure, but I don't. I mean, the crazy thing about it is on late start Wednesdays, it used to be late start Tuesdays, but we had the same problem every year that I've been here. There's a huge tardy problem when they come in at 9:40. And
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna say that, like, my students have been tardy on regular days, and series one tardy on the start.
Yeah, so it's not time of day, it's sort of, the culture around attendance and you know, and being on time.
I just had a question about the COVID, because I am noticing a lot more students out with COVID. Are we gonna be doing vaccine drives again?
So, good question. I think that's a possibility. They haven't reached out to us for it, but we can certainly reach out to them. But I mean, that's part of that has to be part of the messaging. You know, not only do we need parents, because one of the things we're learning is some parents aren't notifying us that their child is out with COVID. And so we need them to notify us, and we want to encourage vaccinations for staff and students. I think there's a new vaccine that's out for adults, right? So, COVID. All right. Any other questions on attendance? All right. Next up, the athletic accountability program. Throw that one up there. So this is something that was piloted last year. Collaborated. It was Jose Luis Navarro collaborated with 9th grade counselors, Judith Inosa, Mercedes, and Nancy Rocha, and Wesley Vaughn, who was one of the athletic seminar teachers on how to make it work and make sense for our athletes. And so I think the big idea here is we know that when the school year starts, kids are programmed to 2 athletic classes, right? Usually periods 4 and period 8. At the first grading period, if they're don't have a 2.0, then we will pull them from one of those sport classes and they'll be in an athletic seminar class where they have to focus on their work. And so they're still on the team, but they're missing practice on those days at that time to focus on their school. And then the idea is if they get their grades back up over 2.0, then they get their athletic class back. Obviously, if they become ineligible, then they lose the athletic class completely, and they're in athletic seminar working on their grades 2 periods a day.
They're still on the team meeting, they can still participate in extra weeks.
Not if they're not if they're ineligible. And so
Okay.
the first 6 weeks, yes. So they lose a period, their GPA is below 2.0, but it's not, we haven't gotten to the eligibility report card yet. And so that's the accountability piece. It's like, warning, you're in danger, you need to get your grades up. So we pull you out of one class so you can focus on your grades. Yep.
Is that a cumulative 2.0 or a 2.0 for the progress report?
It's a 2.0 for the progress report.
Okay, thank you.
And so one of the, and I think I shared it on there, one of the big successes that we had, JV football was really, their grades were low last year. We had about 20 kids under a 2.0 at the 6 week. This year we only have 3 kids. And so last year we piloted this program with 9th graders. And this year we're doing it with all athletes at all grade levels. And so we've seen most of the athletes in all of the sports are doing better and are keeping their grades up. Very few kids that are below 2.0. But that's what the athletic seminar class is for. Any questions about that? Yes.
Is this a policy of Birmingham, or is this a policy of CIF?
Birmingham.
Los Angeles, okay.
This is
Are there any other schools that are doing this? that you know
not
of?
that I'm aware of.
So basically, a student below a 2.0 can participate elsewhere athletically, and they don't become ineligible until the 10th, 12th week.
Yeah, but remember right now we have our kids we have 8 periods, right? And they're in athletics 25% of the time, right? Periods 4 and period 8. And so what we're doing is before they become ineligible, we're saying warning and pulling them out of one of their athletic classes. They can still practice after school and they can still participate in games. They're not ineligible yet, but they're receiving a warning and they're given time during the day with a supportive teacher where they can get their grades up.
So the ineligibility remained the same, it wouldn't kick in until, in this case, 12th.
Yep. The next one regarding the, and Mr. Franzo talked a little bit about this regarding the proposed board policy on evaluation. And I talked to Matt about it and he made a valid point. How do we know if we change our evaluation system, that it would have any effect on our charter oversight score? Because that's one of the things that precipitated this. We scored a 3 on charter oversight on evaluation of staff. And so I reached out to Luis Aguilar, he's our charter oversight specialist, and said, hey, give us some feedback on this. What do we need to get to a 4? And then we can start our conversation about what we need to change based on that.
Have you heard that?
Not yet. Number 4, accreditation visit updates. So Ms. Cindy's been leading our effort with that. What you see up here is just the coffee with the principal. Ms. Cindy and Laura Young, who's our WASP coordinator, presented to our parents, both in the morning and in the evening. It was well attended. We had between like 60 and 70 parents that attended the combination of morning and evening sessions, where we had a chance to present about the WASP process and getting their feedback. Surveys there were links so the parents could begin to give us feedback on what's going well and what are our areas of growth. The other things that we've done, the focus groups met twice already to reflect and respond to WASP prompts. Home groups met twice to reflect and respond on WASP prompts. And we're done a lot of chapters 1 and chapter 2 already. We have had one early release day specifically for WASP. And so we'll do another one before this semester. And then we have 2 planned for next semester before WASP comes. The visit, I think dates are on here, the 17th to the 20th. They arrive on a Sunday and leave on a Wednesday. But we're not sure if we'll need both early release days in the fall. Depends what kind of progress we're making on the report and getting everybody comfortable with what the results are and what our action plan will be to address our areas of growth. Questions? Okay. I'm feeling old. I have to put on my glasses every time I look down. So reclassification data, we had 38 this is really about the kids were reclassified We're having an event for them tomorrow night after school. 38 students were reclassified. This is, but it counts as our reclassification data for last year, the most recent year. The data that I gave you I don't know if I put it on here, but out of the 38, I estimated that's 13.8% reclassification rate. Might actually be higher than that, because it's based on our EL count from last year, not this year. And our EL count last year, we have about 35 more EL students this year than we had last year. So the rate is probably more like 15%. But really proud of the kids. Obviously, Ms. Pedrani and our EL teachers have been doing an amazing job working with the students. Erica Urbina does the testing, and so it's really a team effort to support those students to reclassify. Getting 38 for our student population last year, which was like 235 EL students. It's good. It's very good. So I'm very proud of them. We were talking today like what LAUSD tries, what their goals are. They're usually goals around 11%, and that's combining elementary, middle, and high school. It's always lower at the high school level. So I'm proud of the team. It's really, and obviously proud of the kids. So. All right. Next up, pilot of student data dashboard. So let's pull that up. So let me give you some context. Over the past 4 years, we've Mr. Navarro has worked with Anthony Hernandez, our data specialist, on developing an MTSS spreadsheet that has a ton of different data that we can look at to basically trend at any given time. Are kids trending up? Are they trending down? What is their social emotional or what is their mental health like? Are they suffering from trauma? Are their grades going up? Are they going down? Is their attendance going up? Is their attendance going down? And so, and we've made that data widely available to our multi-tiered support systems at all of the different grade levels and to the teachers. Anthony created this really cool system where teachers can go on their name and click on their name, and it gives their roster of data right in the spreadsheet. Pretty cool. But I think we want to take the next step, which is student ownership of their data. We need to share that data with the students. And so this is sort of our first effort at that. Mr. Klimico is, there he is, right there. Raise your hand. And so he's sort of leading the effort on this, getting feedback from everybody. There's a lot of feedback in admin meeting, and so we'll be revising some stuff, but this is our pilot for the first 6-week grading period. The GLA coordinators are going to go over this form, and you can see on the back side of it, the Dropbox, and you can see it up there, there's reflection for the students. So they need to reflect on their grades. They need to reflect on their Lexile level. They need to reflect on their A3G progress, attendance, etc. And so, I mean, it's not uncommon for all of us to sort of go through life and not really be mindful of, like, how many times was I absent? What's my, especially in high school, what's my GPA? They may not be thinking about those things. So putting them right there on that handout and having a conversation and giving them an opportunity to reflect is part of what we want to try to do to transition ownership of the data from the adults to the students. And so no doubt that we will make revisions on the form for next grading period. So the idea is every grading period it comes out, we'll have a new form, an updated form, and have a conversation with the students. Right now, it would happen in the academy period class, but we talked about just the possibility of maybe it should happen also in math class. So math can talk about the data, or at least their data in math class. In English, they can talk about Lexile level. So students really see it and understand how important it is, and that the assessments they're taking are showing up there, and we're monitoring that stuff. So I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
The only concern I have about that is timing, especially in the every other day math class. We're very short on time. I know in my AP class, like, tell me to take a day away from my AP class to do that, I'm gonna struggle with that. And I'm someone who's actually been doing SMART goals with my students since I started here. But my everyday classes, they do their SMART goals. Like my freshmen have already done their SMART goals. I've already given them feedback on their SMART goals. But I would be cautious to tell all the math teachers to do it because in the every other day classes, we have such limited time.
Yeah.
And generally larger classes too.
I think the intention was to do it in academy period. The question came up today is, well, maybe would it be more powerful? So I mean, I think that's a question that we would bring to the math department and bring to the English department about whether they would find that useful to have that conversation. Right now, for now, it's going to live in the academy period.
So every student will have a copy of this
Yes.
on his or her.
And it's going to be, and I should mention that because I think I heard about Mr. DeFranco mentioned this earlier, that we didn't send out progress report cards to students. We didn't mail them out. We sent them directly, confidentially through Parent Square. And so that way, I mean, I don't know if this has happened, if you guys have ever heard of this issue. A student, first of all, the address may not be correct, number one. We know their email address is correct. Number two, student gets home before parents and sees report card and report card disappears. And so we feel like this is a better chance of getting to the parents. And it's gonna save a lot of money also because we're spending a lot of money on postage. And so we're doing all of our the gold, silver, platinum awards that we give out each semester for attendance and improved attendance. All of those things that we were mailing out, we're sending directly through Parent Square now. And so we have the ability to do that, and that will save a lot of money.
Any questions? So it's good.
Any other? Yeah.
I can speak first to the data. In my class, the intervention class, we actually go over our data every week. And that is actually what's pushing the kids. So we're seeing them look at if they're struggling their comprehension, are they moving too fast? Are they not taking enough time? So they're looking at the numbers. So I think going over the data does help. And if you're actually doing it meaningfully and doing it, with individuals or in groups, it could be done.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Christine.
Hi, I don't have any formal documents in the Dropbox. We're kind of at a standstill in terms of the budget where the legislature has adjourned. They've passed over about 1,300 bills to the governor to review, and he has until October 14th to sign or veto those bills. So we need to see what gets signed and what bills would then impact Birmingham, as well as far as the state's revenues. They are tracking slightly under what they had projected, but again, October 14th is the deadline for the tax filing. They're expecting $42 billion of taxpayer dollars, and we need to wait and see a few more weeks if that revenue comes to fruition and how that might impact the state's budget and then the funding for the schools.
Will that revenue be for this year if there's revenue from the October 14th or will it be put off for next year's budget?
So when the governor does his update for the next school year's 24-25 budget in January, he can make amendments to this current year's budget, and we'll use this October deadline to be a basis for that. As far as our state or our audit with CLA, our external auditors, so we have closed our books for the 22-23 school year. We've passed that information over to LAUSD, and now our external auditors, we're working with them over the next few weeks, going through hundreds of transactions, both financial transactions, programmatic ones, compliance, and we'll have a formal audit report in the November, December board meeting. So our focus in the business office right now is on that audit. And then Mr. DeFranco did mention, we have changed our financial software system. We were using a software for a number of years, and we have made that transition to one that's supported by LACO, Los Angeles County Office of Education, and it's used by the 100 school districts in their county. It's a full ERP system. And so as part of that implementation, we started with a few of those modules. We're using it now for doing budgeting, purchase orders, accounts payable, and we'll be starting the accounts receivable module in November. So as part of the implementation to new softwares, there have been some changes to processes and procedures. We've had a few sessions with staff who are entering purchase orders so they can learn how to use the new software, and we'll continue to have those trainings as necessary until everyone feels fully comfortable with this new software.
Any questions?
Just 2 comments. I don't think you'll ever have nothing to report. you had plenty, so just 1. And then 2, just from an optics standpoint, it'd be nice to not have nothing to report on the agenda. From the CBO, I just think it'd be great to include, even if it's just real.
Okay.
I always worry about other eyes looking at us saying, how come the CBO not have anything to report to the board? So just one voice, but I would encourage us to just. It's a good point.
Okay, consent agenda, the approval of the credit card and the check register for August, and the board minutes for the August 26th regular board meeting, be by consensus, but is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Move, second,
Second.
it's in the Dropbox. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, by consensus, they're approved. All right, action item, number 1, approval of an overnight field trip, Catalina Island field, is that where you're going, Marcia?
Yeah.
Catalina field trip, environmental science for October 18th to 20th, and the girls' basketball tournament for Orlando, Florida during our winter break. Motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved, second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries.
Sorry, second.
Who's second? Okay, thank you. All right. Now we've got a whole bunch of policies, Maggie, just a broad overview of why we're doing this.
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit at the last meeting, just to remind everyone, these are policies that Charter Safe, our insurer, has identified as some of the most important policies for us to have. And so what I did was I went through what was currently in existence and just updated it based on the best practices they're recommending. So they do provide their members with templates of how these should look, to make sure we're compliant with the law, to make sure we're compliant with their recommendations, to reduce our liability. And so that's where these come from. So they are personalized for Birmingham, obviously, but they are based on the recommendations of our insurers. And again, the reason why these are the ones that are coming to you right now is these are the ones that are identified as the most important to have. There will be others in future months as well. I'm just sort of trying to work through them for the most important on one out.
Okay, they're all in Dropbox, so before we vote, make sure you take a look at it. But it's, the first one is the approval of the AED policy. Is there a motion to approve? Move and seconded. Okay, move and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all ready for a vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. The next one is approval of animals on campus policy. No camels, no horses.
Actually, there's a horse in here that you could get approval for based on, depending on the situation. I'm not even joking.
Slow horse.
Yes,
Maybe
there
the
is
new
horses. I
superintendent
remember
can drive this horse over
animals.
here. It's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, no horses except for small horses. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those who don't like horses? Aye, carried. All right, number 4, approval of heat-related illness prevention policy.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
This was just one of the ones I didn't have as much time to look at because we got them recently. So is this applying to like students and staff, or is it just staff, or is it? I just had that question.
Sure, so this is intended for staff. So this is a policy specifically for staff, specifically staff who are spending significant time outside as part of their job duties.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any further question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, number 6, approval of records and retention policy.
You skip 5.
Oh, they said five?
Yeah.
Good, so on this,
Injury and illness.
approval of injury and illness prevention policies. You're paying attention. Is there a motion to approve? Move, second? Second? Is there a motion?
Yeah.
We're moving second by the illness and prevention policy. Anything, Matt, you have to say that? No? Clear? All right, ready for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, now number 6, approval of records and retention policy. Anything, Matt, on that?
Not necessarily questions.
Okay. Any questions?
I had a question
Yeah.
on the policy on the permanent records versus the records, how long it keeps stored. How do you determine which one's the permanent records? Because I was looking through some of the permanent records, I thought, why are we keeping them permanently?
Yeah,
And
so,
not just the 7 years for the Irish requirement.
so this is all based on, the best practice recommended by and so this is all, was recommended for us by our attorneys and also by Step President as what they recommend doing for schools. So a lot of them can be kept electronically, so we don't have to have physical copies indefinitely, but we can have them electronically as well. But this is just sort of what is recommended, even though sometimes it does exceed what the IRS requires.
Is there a motion to approve? Did we get a motion? Moved, seconded? Okay, moved, seconded. All those in, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The last one, approve alternative support provider agreement, a tree of knowledge contract, estimated now $180,000 for school year 2023-24. That one, we heard that. Any discussion on that? Been moved?
Second.
Moved, seconded. Discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, that concludes our action items. In a moment, we're going to close session. There'll be 2 items on the agenda, public employee evaluation and legal counsel. All members of the board who are employees are recused from the session. Matt staying, Bennett staying. For the party. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break.